Hello and welcome back to Wario 2. On the last episode, we went to the cellar, and in this episode, secret exit hunting continues. So, last episode I was like, I'm gonna fast forward through the old lovely bits to get you to the hot new content, and we're already here. That shaved 5 seconds of audio. Oh, audio. There's more than audio in a video, surprisingly. Off of the episode, yes, it's say 5 seconds. It's not that much, but I wasn't gonna go back on a convention. I stated last episode, it was like, it just started. We gotta keep it up, so there's your 5 seconds saved, and here we are in the new part of the level. So this is probably the most intricate oven puzzle we've seen up until now, because all oven puzzles were just like, hey, punch the block a couple spaces and you're good. Because oven puzzles are just, they're block puzzles. You use it as a stepping stone. So it's less than a block puzzle even. It is a step ladder puzzle. And it's kind of interesting because since the puzzles have been so like simple up until this point, we've never had to scroll the oven off the screen to kind of respawn its location, because I put it in such a spot that it actually stopped us from continuing. I could have also left the room, but I suppose maybe there's a... Well, actually, I couldn't have because it was in the way of the door, so that's kind of interesting. There are more intricate oven puzzles later, so it's not like, oh, hey, you know, they designed it and only got used in this room. We will be seeing more ovens that are in our future. So I got the oven in such a place where I was like, beans, I can't really do anything with it, but I wasn't gonna back down because I was like, you know, I think I could break this with my head. So I gave it the old college try and just threw my head at that ceiling, and I did it, hooray. But I feel like I almost smashed Wario's head open, and that would have been a very unfortunate end to the LP. I'm actually kind of interested what happens if an oven falls directly on Wario, because I've never seen it. I'm guessing nothing happens, like maybe it just gets stuck on his head. Maybe he becomes... No, he can't become Flat Wario, because if he were to become Flat Wario in this room, we'd be kind of hosed, because there's no way to continue on from here, because it'd be like, how do I make him feel better? I can't make the Wario feel better. He is stuck in his flat form, and it is a shame. So here we are at the end of the level, and we just punch this good old cork stuck in the SST cup, and, you know, that's probably fine. Nothing bad's gonna come of that, you know? Corks and ships are meant to be destroyed. So it turns out my advice should be ignored because I'm not a naval engineer, and the cork is an absolutely vital piece of the ship. Without the cork, your ship becomes a total drama fan, hits its best death scene it'll ever perform, and sinks lifelessly to the bottom of the ocean. Which is BS, because I don't have a cork, and I've yet to do any of those things, so, shaking my head, ship, shaking my head. But like any good pirate crew, see One Piece, the pirates own a submarine and have escaped in it, and just like always, Lasty is last, because that's, it's just his role in life, he's always last. He didn't bump into anyone, though, so, you know what that means. Chapter 3, Ruins at the Bottom of the Sea. Story 1, Escape from the Teacup, because he didn't bump into his friend. We're here. Hooray. But yes, Wario was not able to hitch a ride on the submarine. Wario was like, hey, the ship's sinking. Can I get out? And Captain Syrup was like, no, this is absolutely your fault. You are not coming with us. And Wario, were he a certain ne'er-do-well, a red overalled at this point Mario was not wearing that jerk wasn't wearing red overalls. He's wearing blue overalls. He switched to his red shirt. That fiend that Mario would have said fair enough, but Wario was like, no, that's stupid. I should get a ride on the submarine. The ship is sinking. I don't care if it's my fault. Unfortunately, though, Captain Syrup would hear none of it, so because we're still here. I'm a big fan of this level, because I think it reuses level geometry in a very interesting way. Like, reusing levels is something that just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths, because it's like, oh, you know, they reuse this level, it's bull, I want more level, I want more level instead of less level, which, fair enough, I agree with people, because, I mean, yeah, hell yeah, I want more level, but as we all also know, well, I assume most people know, development is hell, so it's understandable when designers reuse, content in some way, reuse level geometry, but it's always a shame whenever it's done in kind of maybe a lazier way, less thoughtful way, because level geometry is reused here, but it's not like, oh, hey, redo the same level, which would be really dumb since you can replay levels on the fly here, so it'd be like, oh, hey, here's the same level, no changes. Plus, there's already so much, like, bonus content, I say in parentheses, air quotes, you know, whatever, since, you know, bonus content could be, you know, you can beat the game and then there's more levels. Whether you construe that as bonus content or not, I guess, is up to you. But yes, just having you replay the level would be dumb. So it's nice that they thoughtfully, like, you know, oh, we need to reuse this level geometry. Here's a neat way to do it. In fact, you know, this seems like it might have not been done because of, like, a constraint of, oh, hey, we need to reuse, you know, maybe a bit of a level design, and more of just because they thought it'd be a fun idea to have to escape from the ship. Or maybe they couldn't think of enough chapters for the level and they had to kind of pad it out. They always seem to have a kind of padding level in most chapters, kind of like a last level. Dare I say it, but the Stop the Train one arguably could have been padding for the chapter as a whole. So maybe this was just kind of like we need to pad it out, beans, you know, we're running out of time. Time to pad up the chapter with, you know, something we can reuse a little bit of level geometry, because we are going through the same path that we went through, Drop the Anchor. It just has the added difference of, you might have noticed it being flooded. It's kind of interesting. Speaking of being kind of interesting, this water block, or I guess it's an oven in the water, a water oven, as I will now christen it, is the only one of its kind in the entire game. It's just a block you can push around in the water. It's not really all that special. It's just interesting that there's only one in the game. I wonder if it was added in late in development, or if, you know, there was plans to use it in more places, but the level designers didn't get, like, the message, and they designed levels without it, and then the guy who designed it, you know, was like, hey, I made this, I'm throwing this in a level because I made it, screw you guys. Or if it was just like someone made it and was like, I'm putting this in the game, screw you guys. It's kind of interesting that there's only one water oven in the entire game, despite it, you know, being fully functional. I mean, I suppose there's not a lot of, like, aquatic levels in the game, so maybe that explains it. Maybe they made it with the idea of there being more water levels, and then just in the final product there was far less than they expected there to be. Because even with this, like, you know, Ruins at the Bottom of the Sea, it's not a fairly aquatic level. We're going to be doing a lot of, like, land, like, garbage. I almost said garbo, which is actually normally what I said. Normally say instead of garbage because I'm stuck in the 90s, I suppose? Question mark? But it's fun. It's fun being stuck in the 90s, I say. No. I find this level just kind of fun because it's, you know, reuses the geometry in a way I think is interesting. And also because this was the treasure door in the actual level, like, Drop the Anchor. It's also the treasure door here. Kind of fun. I just think it's a really clever use of level geometry, and I should probably stop harping on it and move on, especially since we're getting near the end of the level. It's also interesting because it's like, here's a chance to reuse level geometry in an interesting way, and I said I'd just stop talking about it, but my next topic kind of segues out of it, I suppose. But rather than just like, oh, you know, reusing the level geometry in kind of a creative way, it also changes, like, rather than it just being creative, it also changes the gameplay up, so it's kind of interesting, especially with the lack of aquatic levels. It kind of brings a nice balance to the game of, like, oh, hey, we can use our water mechanics, aka swimming mechanics, a bit more. I mean, it's also nice because it kind of changes up, like, that was like a, like, chef thing where we just had to break a bunch of, like, heavy blocks, and here it was like a bubble puzzle, even though, like, you know, that bubble arrangement wasn't too terribly hard. We've had harder bubble arrangements, and we'll see harder bubble arrangements. Also, I really enjoy the exit to that level, because that was where you drop the anchor in the actual level, so it's kind of nice that it, like, you know, ends in the same way the other level ends. Also, I have no clue what this treasure is. Some kind of statue? Maybe more jewelry? Story 2, and a ready time to defeat the giant spearman. I mean, we've seen Story 1's defeat the giant spearman, I think. That's neither here nor there, because Wario very impressively managed to make it to the ruins at the bottom of the sea, the bottom of the sea, with no aid of a submarine. Wario needs no subaquatic faring device. He can, you know, just because he doesn't have a device, maybe vehicle would have been the word I was looking for. But yes, without a submarine, Wario, you know, some people would have said, Wario, you won't be able to make it to the ruins at the bottom of the sea, but Wario said, because he had to swim here, assumedly. Also, there's more money to be had down here. This is one of those cases of an invisible, or well, I guess it's not invisible. In fact, if it was invisible, that'd be pretty confusing. But it is a fake block. It's an enemy block that looks like a normal block. It's kind of BS. Those are probably my least favorite kind of hidden blocks, where it's like, you know, it's a hidden block that's something else. Those really suck. But you know, we've slammed that topic into the ground harder than Wario's butt is slamming into these blocks, I suppose. This level is kind of interesting. It is a like a, oh, there's a bunch of paths to pick. Hope you pick the right one kind of level. So if you want to explore the entire level, the best way to handle this is to go from the left to the right. That way you'll see every single every single path. If you just want to beat the level as fast as you can, the farmost right path is the correct one, I believe. Hopefully I don't have it wrong, but I'm sure, not pretty, but sure that is correct. So here we have an interesting bubble arrangement. This one's a little tighter than most bubble arrangements we've seen normally are. This one in particular, because you kind of got to go as soon as you can. I'm not a big fan of that arrangement, though, because it leaves you in a state where you can kind of actually just get stuck there and not be able to progress, so it's kind of lame. But with that, this level's also interesting because it actually loops on itself. So we're actually at the very top of the level now, I believe. No, that was the bottom, because the beginning is the top. My bad. So it's interesting. There are 4 paths, and all of them will loop you back into the same, like, ending area, which leads to the same beginning area. But there are, like, essentially just the ends of the paths are different. And whenever I was practicing for this LP, I was like, oh, this level's going to obviously need to be fast-forwarded through. But I think more often, or well, I was going to say more often than not, but that word doesn't really fit in the sentence. This level is not very long, should I say. So if I was like, oh, I got to the end of this frickin' tunnel, I guess I'll cut past the bits we've already seen. Since the level's not very long, there's not really much to cut from. And I think, is this the treasure door? I think it might be the treasure door. And what do you know? It was the treasure door. I find this arrangement with the swordfish kind of interesting. It's not really, I guess, all that interesting in of itself, but you can kind of see that the area, like, I guess the geometry for this area was kind of reused. Geometry is probably not the right word at all, since this is a 2D game, but, you know, whatever. The design of the area was kind of reused from, the frickin' bubble room. It's pretty much the same room, so it's kind of interesting that, that they just reused, like, the thing and just were like, let's stick swordfish in here. Not really, like, condemning it or anything, just kind of interesting. So, yes, if you want to beat this level as fast as possible, aka just running straight to the end, you go to the far right. If you want to do everything, you go from the far left all the way to the far right, and you just continue onwards, something like that. If you want to finish it as fast as possible, also get the treasure, you do 2 and 4. So you do the rightmost path on the left path. That's very confusing, and then the rightmost path. It's like sticking in RAM. You 2 and 4. 2 and 4. Or at least that's the way my motherboard is. Maybe all motherboards aren't like that. Who knows? Perhaps someone who knows more about actual computer architecture, like physical architecture. I am more of a, I guess, logic guy, since that's what my degree is in. But you know, whatever. That's not what we're here. We're not here to talk about degrees. Do you think Wario has a degree? No, but he is riding an owl. He is happier than all of us combined, because we'll never have the chance to ride an owl, because unfortunately, there are no owls that can withstand our girth in our world. But in Wario's world, there's an owl that can withstand his girth, and Wario is girthier than most human beings, all human beings combined. His muscles are so heavy because Wario, little known fact, pure muscle. There's not an ounce of fat on this man. He's like, I was gonna say the perfect steak, but I think you generally want fat on a steak. I don't really know, because I've been poor and in college for so long that it's food. What is that? I'm not sure, but that's neither here nor there, because here at the ruins at the bottom, the bottom, I almost said that again. It's the ruins at the bottom of the sea, where there is no food shortage. There is only treasure. I guess there's also these pirates, assuming that these are pirates and not just naturally occurring enemies, which I suppose they could be naturally occurring enemies. It's just weird that these hammer apes are following us around everywhere. Get out of here. I have no desire to become a springy Wario. And I think this leads us on to progress, and I'm assuming that this takes us off this. Are we gonna be able to make it back up there? No, we're not. So this is where we want to go. I want to be up there. That's the end of the level, but I have no way of getting up there. Oh my God, Wario's eye. I've never noticed, like, his transition of his eye. His eyeball, like, doesn't actually move. Or, well, I mean, his eye, the pupil black bit, doesn't move. So it's like he's looking up. But the pixel doesn't move, even though the eye technically does shift on his body. That's very interesting. Yeah, so once you get to this part of the level and you see this door, if you've gone through all the other paths, don't just go through it. I was interested in saying like, oh, you know, maybe there was a little bit more of the level past that bit, but there was not an beans. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to break as many of these blocks as I could without freeing the spearmen, so we could get a little bit of assisted practice, should I say, at jumping on this guy without hitting the ground. And dang, I was doing a pretty decent job there. Unfortunately, doesn't seem like I'm gonna get good at this anytime, which is a shame. I mean, I guess we only fell once, which is a little bit better than my normal, like, falling 3 or 4 times on my face. So hey, I guess that was better than normal. And also, the treasure for this the treasure for this level is awesome because it's just a trident. Wario gets a trident. Tridents are cool. Welcome to Story 3, Inside the Runes, with a name like Inside the Runes. This must be the meatiest level of the entirety of Chapter 3. Bottom of the runes at the bottom of the scene, at the bottom of the runes, with the runes at the bottom of the scene, my god. So yes, the meatiest level, we're gonna be here for a while. It's a total pain. This level, oh boy, I might even need to fast forward through this level. It kinda sucks. So obviously there's a little bit more to this level than just taking this straight shot to the end of the level and beating the level in like 30 seconds. This was a level I was kind of dreading recording because this level can be kind of a pain. So obviously I ended up deciding to fast forward through it. There are little arrangements that I'm not going to fast forward through, so it's not like unheard of, like, oh, you know, fast forward through the bits that we don't need to see and get to the normal bits. It's the point of fast forward. So this level's a big rolling challenge with little arrangements thrown within to be kind of your prizes for making it to the end of the rolling segments. This little segment right here probably requires the most dexterity of any of the arrangements in this level, just because you have to make it through that little series of platforms. Where you have to jump on those fish that come out at you, and they can kind of be obnoxious. So that can kind of be tricky to get through. Once you get to the top part with the birds, it's not that bad though. So yes, obviously this can kind of be a problem because you have to, this little rolling segment, you may have to repeat it a couple times to roll into areas you like let's say you miss a jump and you got to repeat something. It can be kind of a pain. If you are smart about it and come through here and kind of break all of these passages, you can kind of cut down on the time you spend in this level, but I was not thinking about it too much, so I kind of went for trying to play it the best I could as opposed to playing it smart, so I worked harder, not smarter, unfortunately. This chef puzzle is very interesting because it's an arrangement they love. They repeat it like twice in Wario Land 2. I think we had to do something similar earlier in the game. And they repeat this puzzle in 3 and 4. They just love the you have to ground pound the chef to raise it and take it somewhere else puzzle. And you do have to become Fat Wario to get past those 2 slimes, because even if you were to pick up the chef and throw it at it, you can only take out 1 slime, and there's 2 slimes. So if you're going to move the chef, you might as well just go whole hog and just become Fat Wario while you're at it. I mean, you know, you worked for that cake. You should enjoy it. You deserve it. So yes, I didn't fast forward through that bit because I was like, we'll just cut out and we instantly go back in a room that would just, music cuts out, music fades in, it'd be so bad, my god. I mean, the Wario Land Shake It music's wonderful, and we want to spend as much time as we can enjoying it. We don't want to cut in and cut out unnecessarily if we can avoid it with just a little bit of just watching Wario walk for 3 more seconds than we would otherwise. And unfortunately, this little pirate goon that had helped us get up here is going to be murdered because he is no longer of any use to us. Because regardless of what we feel in our hearts, they are not our friends. They are, in fact, our foes. They are useful tools to us. They are not our friends. We must not grow too attached to them. Otherwise, we'll find them biting us in the butt. That sounds weird. That's not normally the way you'd say that. But yes, they'll bite us in the butt if we don't treat them like enemies. They are tools to us. Tools first and foremost. So yes, this little arrangement here, it kind of gives me trouble, because this is the final arrangement of this rolling puzzle. This is like the final bit. That little hill gave me trouble, because you can't roll up hills. You have to jump over them. If you hit a hill, you'll stop rolling. It's the same as hitting a wall, essentially. So this final part is kind of where you're going to spend the majority of the level, like, repeating the arrangement. And I actually don't roll through here, because the treasure door's right here, and I didn't want to have to, like, accidentally roll past it. And as you saw there, I broke that block that was forming that, like, 2 passage, because you essentially would have to roll through there to break them, unless you break one from one side. Now if I find myself on the other side, I can just punch it, which is very useful to me, because that means I can stop rolling the entire way back, or having to take that passage that Pirate Goon was walking through. You could crouch through there if you killed the Pirate Goon. It's just, I honestly think it's faster to roll through, and it's obviously even faster to just break that block and just go through there. So that slime's just the worst, because enemies, you can roll through them. Every enemy in the game you can kill with rolling, aside from that slime. That slime's going to just reject you, which really sucks. So this final bit's kind of a doozy, because you have to make this entirely long, like, timing puzzle with these rolling, because that's essentially what every rolling segment is a timing puzzle, because all you can do is jump. You can't control your speed in any way. No brakes, no speeding up, none whatsoever. So that slime's kind of a dick move, because generally you're going to see the slime and think, oh, I can just roll into it and kill it, and then nope. And then even after you get past the slime, there is more to be had. But once you get into this room with the D-Bat, you're home free, because there's just a ton of coins to be collected with Flat Wario. I do something stupid here, though, and I float on past all the money, because I was trying to get that platform up there, because I was like, ooh, maybe I can get more money this way. But that platform you don't need to be Flat Wario to get to, so I just kind of wasted it. But, you know, it's whatever. So obviously all these arrangements are just for money, and they're probably not worth your time, because after you get the treasure for the level, money's not really worth your time, because we have enough money to cover the number game for the rest of the game many times over, practically at this point. But you do get a lot of money for it. So if you are in desperate need for money, it's not like not worth your time. Not like that zombie room from Go to the Cellar where it took 40 seconds to get 30 coins. That was like BS. That's not worth your time in any facet of like. It's not worth your time. Start using words and then thinking like, wait, that's not how you use that word correctly. You know, whatever. This is worth your time in terms of like how much cash you can get. But if you are in desperate need of money, the first level is the best way to get money. Just play that over and over again. So there we go. We've seen everything the level has to offer, and we can just make a straight crack for the ending properly this time with the treasures, having seen everything in the level. And you get coral as your treasure, which is kind of a terrible treasure because that means you've removed coral from its natural habitat where it's needed. Coral is very precious, Wario. My God. You jerk. Time for the quintessential Chapter 3, Ruins at the Bottom of the Sea level, Story 4, Escape for the Ruins. Just like Chapter 2, Go to the Cellar, Story 4 is the quintessential level for the chapter. That seems about the time when they're comfortable breaking out their big guns and showing you what they can do. This level has a very interesting concept going into it that no other level actually uses, and it's these switches. Yes, switches, and you don't see those anywhere else in the game. My God, no. We'll be seeing that a little bit later, because to talk about it now would be to bring spoilers into the fray. Spoilers for Wario Land 2, I know. Just when you thought you couldn't get any more, just pedantic about things. Yes, spoilers for Wario Land 2, and cool. I was like, man, I'm kind of stuck here in a bad spot, but I somehow managed to grab the pirate goom, and you know what? His coin can stay here, free from Wario's pockets. It's earned this. But yes, there are a bunch of switches in this level that move these movable blocks that have Loch Ness monsters on them? Who knows what those are supposed to be? They look like Lockies. Perhaps there's a better name for... Does the camera really not scroll up here? I guess that's really hidden money if they don't want to scroll the camera up. My God. But yes, we're kind of in like a big pyramid-shaped structure, which is, I suppose, the main facet of the ruins at the bottom of the sea, even. My God. This Punchy's gonna need to move. I think their names are just Punch. I always call them Punchy Boys, though, or Punchy Guys. Well, yeah, or just Punchy in that case. It's a loving nickname that they've earned over the years. But yes, there's a bunch of movable blocks. You gotta find switches to move them, which, I mean, that's pretty standard video game fare. And that doesn't really stand out as, like, this crazy level concept that you'll remember for years to come. But, trust me, there's more to it. There's always more coming, and, I want to... There we go. I wanted to get him down, but I didn't know how to do it without him knocking him out of my hand. It turned out just knocking him out of my hand was just the easiest way to go. Unfortunately, that Punchy guy's now in that one unit wide tunnel, which would have been a pain had he been coming back the way he was walking. So like Wario could have gotten stuck in there for a little bit. Using this, we could jump up here and continue onwards, but we're not about that life. There's that door that we saw that we want to see what's in the door. If we missed out on the door, what kind of treasure hunter would we be? And oh, good. For a second, I was worried that they killed themselves on each other, but it worked out. Also, I like that you can see the water outside of the ruins. I think that's a really nice touch. And in fact, there's a later point in the level where we're gonna see like some swordfish, and I think that's real nice. I telling you this like after I just went about, oh, spoilers, Wario Land 2, blah 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 blah, and then I just spoiled something else. Whoops. And the reason this door in particular is so important to come back for is because it's a treasure door, etc., etc. You've heard it before, and you'll probably hear it again. We could go in, well, actually, I was like, we could go in there and hit the block and, you know, switch it, or I could go grab that punchy guy and jump off him to get the extra height we would need to jump up here. But in the end, it was just easier to walk in. You know, it was probably even quicker than walking back, getting the punchy guy, and getting him in prime jumping position. So this room is very interesting. It has these stupid spiked clam enemies. Like, I've gone over this before. I have no clue what they are. I'm not a biologist. I'm barely a human being. I'm very biological myself. Man, there's a better word for that. But hey, I'm a computer science major, not an English major. Knowing words is not my good point suit. That was actually on purpose, so don't go like, haha, you know, look at the idiot being an idiot. That was on purpose. I promise. I'm not owned. That Skullcopter did in fact just owned me, so I guess there's that. This room is very interesting. It's a big X, and there's doors in all 4 quadrants of the X. But we're not going to be looking at that bottom door for now. We don't care about that bottom door. And I know what you're saying, but Cardboard Lawyer, you just said you're not about that life. You need to check everything out. All in due time, young... Well, actually, you could be older than me. In fact, you could be more experienced than me. You could be watching this and going, look at this scrub. That's something that we should all take into account, that everybody is always better than you at something. Unless you're me. And then the case is everyone's better at you than everything. This area has some interesting hidden areas. They have a good enough tell in that generally if there's a little divot, especially if the divot's got a duck in it, you can punch it. You can punch it and it'll break. This one's a little fake out though because it's down here. Although like once you get it wrong, you'll look at it and go, oh, I see where it is now. Especially if you've been playing the game long enough to get to this point, you'll be like, oh, you know, the hidden area is down there. I should have known. But you don't, because you see the duck and you run for the duck, and they don't want us to get through here. For some reason, they put those hidden blocks there. I'm guessing maybe if you come in at this a different way, they don't want you to get in there, or maybe they are just punishing you for hitting that block. I'm not sure. I'm not smart enough to think about how the level's laid out at the moment to figure it out. At the very least, you can just go back and punch the block, and you're good. And we saw those swordfishes back there, which is kind of a nice touch. I really like that. It's just like, oh, hey, there's water outside the level, and here's some fish. And the reason why, the concept for this level that's so interesting is this is Story 4, and here's a boss. This isn't even like a little mini boss, as in like the giant spearman. This is a full-on boss. And we gotta kill this guy. And I know what you're thinking, like, oh, what are the consequences of this? There's a boss. Bosses always mean the end of the chapter. I know, it's freaking me out too, and trust me, we're going to see. This guy's kind of a simple boss, and you know what, actually, I'm gonna let him defeat me, because there is a bit more of the level past here that I did not think about, until I had almost killed him. And, you know, I suppose we could have come back in here, after winning the level to, after completing the level, probably would be the proper way to say that. We could have come back in here after completing the level, but you know what? Screw that. You know that'd be time out of my day, and you know I'd actually take less time for you. So I mean, that probably would have been better for the episode. But hey, we live and learn. Living on the edge of tomorrow. That's the thing that we've all learned at some point, that we must live on the edge of tomorrow, and we gotta live and learn. And I've learned from my mistake. And if I do another Wario Land 2 LP, I'll remember it. I've learned. I know what to do now. And I need this guy to come up here. This big little puffer fish? He's some kind of spiky fish. Maybe he's like a rockfish. Although rockfish generally have like crazy patterns on them, but this was also a original Game Boy game that they added color to later, so I mean that could be the case. Rockfish are kind of spiny like that. They're spiny in a different way, but it is also a Game Boy game. Like I said, he's a very simple... Oh, he has 4 hits. My bad. He's very difficult. He's up the ante a lot. But Wario, you are standing underwater. That is very impressive. A certain elf boy I know needs iron boots to do that, or to enter a fish form himself. But that's neither here nor there, because we got a Thunderbolt. We're better than a stupid elf boy. We're Wario. Sorry, Mike, but I mean Wario. Come on. So the level concept I find so interesting is that level has 2 exits, which I know that's not very special. But Story 4, the chapter end takes you into Chapter 4. Like, you beat a boss, it takes you into Chapter 4. Like, maybe that's not that special, because there are hidden exits in this game that are, you know, in weird levels. But I just find this one so interesting, because there's, you know, it's not like, oh, there's a door or, you know, some hidden objective. There's a hidden boss that takes you into a chapter you've already seen. The like normal exit, quotation marks normal I guess, because who's to say which one is the intended exit, takes you to an end game scenario where you get credits. So I've always just found this level very interesting, and you know, it's a pretty good level to boot, so I'm a big fan of this level. I'm a big fan of this chapter in general, to be honest. So you're probably wondering why I made such a big deal about, oh, you know, you can jump off that punchy to get up there, or why I made such a big deal about, you know, making the X room, kind of trying to point it out. And the reason why is because, you know, there's that fourth door that I mentioned in the bottom quadrant that we never saw, and obviously, you know, that's where we're supposed to go to find that secret exit that we so missed. But you can also get up here by jumping off the punchy, and if you remember, there's hidden blocks, there's moving blocks, I should say, in here that take you down to that bottom quadrant. It's obviously that doing what I just did is not the intended way to do that. That's just you can do it that way. The intended way to do it is to use the switch in here to move the blocks to get down there. Because by doing this, you're expected to get into this duck room from the top left quadrant. You hit the block, you walk across the little bridge formed by the blocks, and you come in here. Then you use that switch to make it in the up position to get down here. That's what I assume is the intended way, and I have 0 coins. It's interesting. We might finish this level with no money. I'm gonna try and finish this level with no money. You know, why not? Let's go for it. We've never done that before. I say as there's money tempting me everywhere. But yes, it's just kind of interesting. You can get in here through alternate means, which is nice too. But that is what that little room duck block is for. That's probably not the block in the room with all the ducks. That is what it is for, I assume. And we can see the level end over there, but we have money burning a hole in our pocket, so I'm going to use this punchy to take some damage. Actually, can I just... No, I can't get straight to the end. That block goes everywhere, and I'm going to have this punchy punch me. I know maybe it's like, why are you doing this? It's stupid, but I kind of just want to finish the level with no money. I know it's dumb, but why not? I mean, how often do you get to finish a level in Wario Land 2 with no money? Like, I mean, you have to try. Like, I imagine, like, there are, like, you know, complete the level with no, like, cash kind of stipulations for runs, like, you know, oh, you know, special ending if you get no money, or like, you know, I'm gonna do a challenge run, I'm gonna get no money, so like, why not? Let's go for it. And it's making this a challenge on my patience more than anything, and we'll just go ahead and duck into the end of the level and avoid the ape. Luckily, we already got the treasure for this level. I already got the frickin' puzzle panel. We have a thunderbolt. We've already seen this. Why am I doing this? My god, sorry. Now it's time for the true end of Chapter 3, Rooms at the Bottom of the Sea, with the final story, Captured Syrup. Yes, Syrup's been captured, and she needs her dashing Prince Wario to come save her. We don't give a hot flying Sally about you, Captain Syrup. You could have been... You could have been killed for all we care. You're our antagonist. In fact, apparently Captain Syrup is the first female antagonist in the Mario series. I mean, I guess Wario Land's technically a spin-off of the Mario series. You won't hear me saying that a second time. Wario Land is technically a spin-off series of the Mario series. But I would like to proposit this. Wario Land is better than any game in the Mario series. Like, okay, that may not be true, but don't let anybody know. I'm not going to say that again. Wario Land is much better than any Mario game, and you'll never hear me say anything otherwise. There's no evidence that I've ever said anything otherwise, and this pelican does not want to cooperate with me. He was like, nah, I'm going to spit fish at you, bro. That's all I'm going to do. There are a lot of pelicans in this area. Good observation. There are a lot of pelicans in this area. That's the LP gold mine that I'm riding on, baby. The other LP gold mine I'm riding on is my thesis that I'm writing on why Wario is better than Mario. Starting off with W just being a superior letter to M. M is a chump's letter. The chump champ scenario that I've gone over time and time again. It's kind of interesting. They bring the moving block mechanic that we saw in the previous level into this level, but it's only in that like first room. After that room, you don't see any more moving blocks. And that thing's kind of mean, because had you not hit the switch, you just kind of continued on with the level, you would probably fall into those spikes unless you reacted in time, just like I reacted in time to punch that ant in the face. I hate ants. So those ant enemies are kind of uncommon. We're going to be seeing them in the next 2 chapters, but before then, I think we had only really seen them in Chapter 4 in Town and Syrup Castle. I meant Maze Woods. But I think there might have actually been one in Syrup Castle, so maybe they're not as uncommon as I think. It's just, every time I see them, I think, oh, hey, you know, what's the deal with these guys? So this hidden area, you can tell that there's money on the other side. You can just straight up see it. But getting to it's a little bit hard because you have to do hook jumps up there, which hook jumps are always going to be kind of a pain. But they're extra bad in this area, and I'm glad I didn't fall in the water because I wanted to come down here and get the cash, but I wanted to save Tiny Wario. But this area sucks because it has maybe the most obscure hidden area in the game, and it's really, really obtuse. There are invisible blocks with money on them And, okay, first off, they're invisible blocks. There's no invisible blocks anywhere else in the game. Maybe you could consider that room of, like, blocks that are the same color as the background that I think are in Invade Wario Castle. It might be Syrup Castle. No, I'm pretty sure it's Invade Wario Castle, because they're a beige color, and Syrup Castle's pink and purple. Which, like, yeah, that's already, like, you know, invisible blocks. That's bad enough. But there's also no way to see that there's money up there. Like, at least to my knowledge, there's no way to, like, get the screed, the pan, and be like, hey, there's something up there. There might be a way to hit your head on the ceiling, but it's kind of obtuse to do, and also you might just assume that's the ceiling to the level, because you can't see higher than that. You can't ceiling higher than... there might have been a better pun in there, had I, planned that in advance. Before I get totally sidetracked complaining about the invisible blocks, I should state that was the treasure door. The treasure door hidden in a very reasonable place, very easy to find, unlike that stupid money that was on the invisible blocks. And I guess I should throw this forward. I'm not super mad about that hidden area, because, I mean, it is super optional. Get off the screen, Syrup. We don't even care about you. We're talking about invisible blocks. I don't even care about the boss that's about to waddle on screen. I don't give a hot heck about you. In fact, I'm going to jump straight into you so we can end this boss fight, because I don't care about defeating you right now. There's more areas to be seen in your level, so get me out of here, Bubble Boy. I'll come back and kill you later. I'll kill you last. Actually, I have to kill you to get the Syrup, so I suppose I'll be killing her last, would be more correct to say. But I'm not super mad about those invisible blocks. I'm more flabbergasted than anything, just because it's like, there's no... Oh, actually, this leads down to that area where the hidden money was. I just want to show that off. I'm not going down there, because I don't care to go back there. I'm just more flabbergasted that they made invisible blocks, and then it was like, they're only really present there. And the area we're in right now, this is right beneath the money. The only way I can think to be able to learn that there is a ceiling up there would be to throw a pirate goom up on top of one of these pillars, jump off the other one to get up there, and then jump off it and go, oh, I hit my head on something. Maybe there's money up there. But it's invisible blocks. And honestly, if I hit my head on that, I would just assume there's a ceiling up there rather than invisible blocks. And I'm less mad about the invisible blocks more than just flabbergasted that's like, there's no invisible blocks anywhere else in the game, they don't prepare you for it, and I know it's a hidden area, so it's like, hey, make it as hidden as possible, I guess, but it just seems kind of odd more than anything. So yes, let's deal with this boss. This boss is fairly easy. This boss is incredibly difficult, and you need to be a master level Wario Land 2 player to even think to contend with him. He's pretty easy, you just bounce on him, be careful not to hit his hurt box, because his head and his hurt box, his hit and hurt box are pretty, oh, that was weird. He was, like, looking at the camera for a while. You normally don't see that. His hit and hurt box are pretty interjoined, so it's kind of easy to accidentally bump into it. He makes himself a little bit harder by creating clones, but it's pretty obvious which one's which until you get to the end of the fight where he tries to blend in with them. This boss was a pain on, like, an original Game Boy, and, like, in the Game Boy Color version, because it was a smaller screen, less resolution, that doesn't sound right, but I suppose it is right. Smaller screen, so it was kind of harder to tell the clones apart, so he was kind of a doozy, but his clones cannot hurt you, so he's kind of a chump of a boss. And yes, we got an entire whale, for doing that, and he's not a chump of a boss. He can be kind of hard, like, I mean, obviously I died to him. Well, died. He defeated me. That was it. I did not die. In fact, he's master level gameplay, so, I mean, who cares? But yeah, he can get you. He can be one that's very easy to kind of screw you up, kind of like the bee. I say both bosses that defeated me. Yeah, those are the tough ones. The only ones that defeated me. Yeah, no other bosses are tough. But yeah, he can be a little tricky, but he's not that bad. Original hardware though, that guy kind of sucked. I remember getting stuck there for a long time. But yeah, that's the end of chapter 3. Bottom of the runes at the sea. Sea at the bottom of the runes. Runes at the bottom of the sea. I know the name. And now, we finally saved our beautiful damsel in distress. More like damsel in distress based on what we just did to her, and you know what? We'll give the same treatment to our crew, because we don't give a hot heck about the Black Sugar Gang. They can be smacked out of the ruins at the bottom of the sea and drown for all okay, I don't want them to drown. That'd be bad. I mean, it's no sweat off our backs, really. I mean, we were just in it for our money, which will now fall from the ceiling, conveniently. I guess the bubble monster had stored it away, but hey, we got our money back. If they die, it's no problem. I mean, our money was the most important thing. At least our money didn't get waterlogged. That being said, though, Wario he still has to get home. And this ending is actually my favorite ending sequence in Wario Land 2. Because every ending sequence is Wario's trek back home from, you know, wherever the hell he is at the end of the game. And this one, he's at the bottom of the ocean. So how does Wario get home? Well, he swims, of course. Based on the game mechanics, he doesn't have to breathe. But also based on the game mechanics, he's never been able to balance things on his head like that previously. So that's kind of weird, But yes, I really enjoy this ending credit sequence. It's fun. Granted, a lot of it ends up being boring after this. Like, I think it has a real good start. It's real funny, and you see Wario swim for a while instead of, like, having the owl carry him or having him, like, do walking segments. He swims. So it's a whole lot of swimming. So after this point, it's just swim, 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 swim. So it kind of gets boring. Like I said previously, we'll be seeing the entirety of this credits in a separate video just because I don't want to sit here and watch it. Otherwise, we'd be watching a lot of credits if we did that every time we hit the credits. I do want to say, though, I really like this chapter. It's a chapter that I think has some flaws that I pointed out, but overall, I think it's a fun chapter, and I really enjoy the way it branches. I think it's an interesting chapter for that. So, that's it. That's Chapter 3, Runes at the Bottom of the Sea. And I'll see you guys next time when we start getting into some very interesting and perhaps maybe my favorite chapter in the game. So I guess I'll see you guys next time for that.